So my Apple Watch came in the mail about 2 weeks ago and I've been using it since. And I just wanted to go over my thoughts and experience with the watch in the 2 weeks that I've been using it. So let's get into it. So in the box, you get the watch obviously, and then also the strap of which you ordered, if you ordered it from the Apple website. So the one I have is the Sports Loop. It's got a sort of a hook and loop fastener to it, and it sits on my wrist pretty securely. It doesn't budge from wherever I fastened it, so I like that aspect of it. It does come in two sizes. The one I have is the 44 millimeter, and my wife has the 40 millimeter. So this is what it looks like. I was a little bit worried because I have skinny wrists that it would look too big on it, but it actually looks just right on my wrist. So I've been using it for a couple of things, mostly activity tracking, tracking my bicycle rides, and sleep tracking. So I just wanted to quickly go over how that has been working out for me. For activity tracking, Apple has a built-in app called Activity, and it's just a basic 3 different metrics that it tracks, which is just your move, your stand, and your exercise, and it just has a goal that you can set for yourself, and if you meet the goals, you close the ring. So that's just the most basic part that comes with the Apple Watch. The one that I use is called Strava, which tracks my cycling and running. Strava cycling application, you can actually install it on the Apple Watch, but you can install it on the phone as well. And on the Apple Watch, it's pretty Spartan. It doesn't have like all the different things, like it doesn't have a route tracking that you would find on the phone, as far as I can tell. But what I like about it is that it has a really accurate or really fuss-free heart rate tracking. I've used a Fitbit in the past, and there are situations where it loses track of my heart rate, and you kind of miss out on a whole bunch of minutes of activities just because of whatever reason that is. It also has an ECG, so the electrocardiogram. The G, I don't know what it stands for, but it has the ECG on the watch, which you can start it up, and then it can track your little squiggly lines to see how the electrical signals are going on your heart. And I've been using that for about 2 weeks, and it hasn't found anything, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. It didn't find any AFib. So if you're concerned about that, the Apple Watch is FDA approved for tracking your ECG. It does now have sleep tracking, so you can wear it overnight and then it can track things like your movement and heart rate during your sleep. The built-in sleep tracking app actually doesn't really do too much of it, so I had to download a free app called Sleep++ that does track like if I'm moving and my heart rate and things like that. And to be fair, one of the things that it doesn't do as well as Fitbit is it doesn't have that experimental feature that Fitbit has that tracks if you're in REM sleep or deep REM or light sleep and things like that. The Apple sleep tracking pretty much just says you're asleep and you kind of moved a bit and here's your heart rate. So there's that. But then again, the Fitbit is experimental. And who's to say how does it really know if you're in REM? So it's just doing guessing based off your movement and heart rate. So the Apple Watch also has a whole bunch of different faces that you can set for it. So what I have is a cycling face that I set up for myself. It's got the chance of rain, it's got the temperature, the wind speed, Strava, and a compass. So you can actually configure those watches to have the different complications, as they call it, in order to track whatever you want to track. So you can actually just swipe through them and then get the face that you want. So I have a couple of faces set up, and that one that I just showed is the cycling specific one. But there are others that you can see. The feel of it is pretty comfortable. I don't notice that there's a big heavy thing. It looks heavy, but it's actually fairly light for what I would expect from a piece of electronic in there. And obviously there's a bunch of different bands and different looks that you can add to it, different color bodies. And I just got the stainless steel or the aluminum, whatever the cheaper one is, the gray one. So, and as you notice, mine doesn't have the little red ring on the crown. So it does come in another option that allows you to use cell from your, or cell service from your watch directly. And that's something I didn't really need because I just bring my phone anyways. But if you want that option, you can leave your phone at home and then you can just take the watch with you. Speaking of watch and phone, one thing you need is the iPhone. So you can't really use the watch by itself. You actually need to launch the Apple Watch app from your iPhone in order to do the initial setup. That's kind of a bummer because I'm an Android guy and I really like the Android OS. I've been using the iPhone SE and just kind of getting by on it, but you know, if I had a choice, I just wouldn't use iOS. So let's go over, I guess, a couple of negatives. One of them is that, yeah, you do need an iPhone. That might be a negative or positive to you, but it's probably, I think, a net negative because you can't use it without a phone and you need an iPhone in order to use it. So those two things I consider a net negative, unless you're happy with Apple, iPhone, or iOS. The battery life, let's talk about the battery life. That is, I consider a negative because it only has about an 8-hour battery life rated for just normal usage. And coming from different watches where I get at least a week on the Fitbit, or I don't know, like a normal watch, you get like what, you don't have to worry about the battery on something like a mechanical watch. You kind of have to schedule your life around the watch if you plan on using it for sleep tracking, let's say. So what I do is when the watch tells me it's about time to go to bed, which is usually an hour before bedtime, I take off the watch and I charge it for the hour or so. It gets me up to full, and then that allows me to use the sleep tracking feature. And then upon waking up, I will then charge it for the other 15-30 minutes, and that will get me through the entire day. But then again, yeah, you do have to set up this daily schedule of charging your watch. So that's a negative. Having said that, I did take it on a 10-hour or 165 kilometer, 100-mile bike ride. And I started off with 100% at 6 a.m. And when the ride ended about 3:30, the battery life was about 10%. So that's with GPS and notifications and everything going on throughout the entire ride. And that's not too bad because the phone itself was 25% at the end of that ride because of having to send notifications to the phone out in the open, out in the country where cell signal could be a little spotty. And then, as I said, for the positive is that it does a lot of the notifications really well. It did it a lot better than the Fitbit that I had for my Android. It has that ECG capability that not many devices have at the moment. I know the Samsung is getting FDA approved, but they just haven't implemented it in software yet. So that's just one thing to consider. If you do want to track ECG and potential AFib and things like that, the Apple Watch seems to be the only option in a smartwatch body. Also, the notifications, it does, like I said, works really well with the phone, so I'm kind of pleased with that. I can send text messages from the phone by just using Siri and saying, just doing the whole speech to text thing, and that works surprisingly well. Like if you're driving in your car, it's probably not a good idea, but you can reply to your text straight from your watch without having to fumble through your phone. And then, I'm just gonna go now. I'm getting burnt. So yeah, you can install a whole bunch of different apps. And like I said, I installed Strava on there, but there are games that you can play on the watch. which not my thing. It's kind of already small enough, but maybe there might be, but yeah, don't know where I'm going with that. Yeah, the watch I think is worth the price of admission of having to go from Android into iOS, because the notifications work really well. The watch is actually a really good companion to daily activity. It works so much better than the Fitbit that I've had on the Android. And especially that color screen. Like, one of the things about the Fitbit, like I was saying, is that the LCD screen doesn't work very well with polarized glasses, while the Apple Watch is like, it works so well. Like, I don't know if I can really show it, but the watch is very readable with these polarized glasses, and that's a plus, because riding with polarized glasses to reduce glare and do stuff outside is a good thing in my books, and being able to look at your watch while doing it is another big bonus. Actually, one of the things that I thought would be a lot better on the watch is the walkie-talkie app, which comes installed on all the Apple Watches. My wife has an iPhone and an Apple Watch. Now I have an iPhone and Apple Watch. I added her to my walkie-talkie contact, and I was like expecting to be able to use that, but for whatever reason, I've not been able to connect since the very first time I've tried it. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Having used it on my 100-mile bike ride, I felt that was actually a really good device to have. I do have a Garmin 130 on my bike to track that, but it's just, I probably will not forget to put my watch on, but there's a good chance I might forget to bring my bicycle computer on. And for casual rides, and just if you don't really care about power and things like that, the Apple Watch does a good job of keeping track of your movement, your heart rate, things of that nature. So it was really useful. The current Apple Watch that I have right now doesn't completely turn off, so that's one thing. The Apple Watch has an always-on display, which is great for doing things like riding your bike, because you don't always have to flip your wrist over to look at the display. You can just kind of glance over and see if you're just looking at time. However, having said that, what seems to kind of bother me is that when Strava is running, Strava itself kind of gets blurred out and the time gets overlaid. So you do have to do that to look at your speed and things. So not perfectly flawless, but if you're not doing any activities, if you're just walking around the office and you just want to low key check what time it is, the time is always there. So that's a big plus. It's so lame that you'd have to do that exaggerated gesture to wake up the screen, especially during meetings. You don't want to be seen like, whoa. You just want to just like low key how long is left. So that's one of the bonuses of the always on display. All right, I think I spent way too much time in the sun right now, but those are my thoughts about the Apple Watch, and I really like it, but we'll see how it goes in the next couple of weeks. But right now I'm really digging it, and it's been great for cycling. Till the next time, see ya. Some weird animals scurrying about there. Oh, whatever. What's that?